welcome to Musings episode number 244. How's it going, Scott?
It's going well. I'm feeling my age here today. So this morning, waking up, it's our garbage day. So I go outside, grab the empty garbage bin, and put it back where we normally put it. And there's this small patch of rock hard ice that my foot went on just right and flew out from under me.
Oh,
so as I'm falling and seeing my entire life flash before my eyes as I fall in slow motion, I land on my knee right on that rock hard piece of ice and put my hands down to stop myself from falling, hurt my wrist. Oh my God. And I'm like, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
Next is the hip.
Yeah, I gotta watch that. It's been rough. It's throwing me off quite a bit, and
I was bummed though. I wish somebody was recording me because it would have been the perfect with the way my feet flew out.
Yeah.
Like have like sweep the leg, Johnny, and then edit in like Chuck Norris doing a leg sweep, and then have me flying through the air. That'd been 1 million views.
Well, yeah. Just perfect, So you could have made $1 billion. And you don't have to worry about whether you're hurt or not. You have money coming in.
I know. I'll give up my knee for $1 million.
There you go. Well, might as well just kick right into it. If you had lived a little bit closer,
if you fell on the ice
and lived a little closer, you could have gone to larger Family Chiropractic Center PC, located in Belleville, Michigan, and Dexter, Michigan. They've been one of our sponsors since day one. And when you hurt yourself on the ice or something like that, they offer on-site digital X-rays. They have massage therapy, orthotics with foot levelers, young living essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, all in a family-oriented environment. Give them a call at their Belleville location, 734-697-4244. They can schedule for either location. Visit online at largerfamilychiropractic.com, or we have you here at the Facebook page at Larger Family Chiro. And of course, they're wishing everybody a happy Valentine's Day. So you can, of course, you want to show your spine some love, you can call us up an appointment. And of course, Dexter, you can give him a call, 734-426-3994. So if you're going to hurt yourself, go to a chiropractor. It helps. I was sore over the weekend from doing the convention and driving. We were in NWICon, Northwest Indiana. Great show, great turnout, one-day show. Tons of people. It was they had a line out the door coming in
so
for the first 4 hours. It was just, and there was a ton of people in there, so it was.
That makes the show so worth doing.
Yep. So, and it wasn't for profit wise, wasn't an expensive show for a setup. And Brian Grabinski, who runs it along with his wife, did a great job. And I look forward to hopefully being back next year. Really enjoyed everything about it, and then had a good time hanging out with Kevin. We took his Jill with us, his little one.
Yep. She just had a birthday recently, didn't she?
Yeah, she's not that little. She's 12. She's getting older.
And she's sprouting.
So, yep. And just had a great time, and then got home just in time for the snow to hit here at house again for the Super Bowl, and then I spent the rest of the evening watching whatever the crap it is they show anymore during that stuff. So
yeah, I didn't care about the Super Bowl. So unlike most Detroiters, it seems like. I'm not desperate for Super Bowl wins, so I didn't have to pretend to be a LA Rams fan. I mean, we're ready to have parades and.
Oh, I know. I saw people say we should have a parade for Stafford.
Yeah,
like, no.
Here's the thing. If you like Stafford, I'm
fine.
happy for you.
I think people like him because he went to a team that actually had the chance to compete.
Yeah.
I will still stick by the same thing I said. I watched him again. He messed up. He whines on the side of me. If you watch the last quarter, that last half of it, he did everything he could to try to give it away. The Bengals just screwed up enough to not let it happen.
Yeah.
And that's fine. He's not the greatest one. He wasn't the MVP. The guy that got it definitely was. He pulled in a couple good catches. Yeah. Worked really hard. They have a great defensive leader on the Rams. And everything I mentioned about Stafford has nothing to do with him as a person, strictly on the field. I like to clarify that. He does a lot of great things off the field and still does some charity work here in Detroit, even though he left a year ago.
Yeah.
But is he the greatest player of all time? No. And I will keep saying that all day long because his numbers, if you really look truly at all his numbers when he was with Detroit, he's had Super Bowl, or he had Hall of Fame numbers. He just, was not going to make, the Lions just suck. It's like if you watch most of his mistakes were in the second half, fourth quarter specifically. He did that through his playoffs and got lucky 3 games in a row that he had enough of a team around him to definitely help out, but he did everything he could to give it away.
Yeah, my take on Stafford. Actually, my issue with Stafford is more the diehard Stafford fan than Stafford himself.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford, to be fair, was part of the Detroit Lions for 12 years. And it has been well documented. There's no hope for you when you're on the Detroit Lions. We had Barry Sanders. He couldn't win. We had Hall of Fame Super Bowl coaches come to us. Mariucci. He was a phenomenal coach. He lasted, a half a season here or something, one season, maybe two.
Well, you can't. The problem with the Lions really boils down to the ownership, and the ownership steps in too much. And instead of allowing a team to be built, they try to control some things. And I've seen a couple of documentaries. One was a couple of years ago, talking about the females that in that time that was Mrs. Ford, and she talked about 3 people over the last 20 years. And all of them did this where they were like family. And I'm like, that's where the problem is. They couldn't separate family from business, and you have to be able to have a successful team.
And Stafford isn't the first to go. I'll get on that really quick, not to make this a Super Bowl edition, but with the Lions, their thing was this. Everybody in the league knew you can give them as many yards as they want. Once they get to the final 10, to that red zone, the final 10 yards, they would fall. Yep. And so Stafford's numbers with the Detroit Lions were heavily padded because teams knew they didn't have to defend too strongly in the middle of the field. They allowed them to gain yards, knowing once they got to the red zone, it would be over for them. So, and these comeback wins, he came from behind. Well, but that's because he could never put together a full game. He either had a great second half, but an insanely bad first half, or vice versa, a horrible first half and a great second half. He never could play a full 4 quarters. Now, with that said, he is a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. The Lions kept trying to use him as though he was Tom Brady. The Rams used him right and surrounded him by a team of great players. And that's how, if the Lions had done that, we would have had great results from him too. But for some reason, the NFL is just insistent on making Stafford like this poster child of the future. Yeah. But with the Lions, he was 12 years here, but every year we acted like he was a rookie. Well, he's growing, he's learning. It's like at that point, it was like, he's here 10 years. What do you mean?
And they even mentioned in the game has injuries. He's constantly getting injured, always around Thanksgiving time. Yeah. And through the end of the year.
Yeah. So, which is why with the Lions, if you look at the record in November and December, they had one of the worst records in the NFL. They always felt, no matter how good their first half, just like games, they could have a great first half of the season, but then soon as the November, December came, or outdoor games under, 40 degrees, I think, they couldn't win. Yeah. And so anyways, I am happy for Stafford. As a human being, he is a great guy. He does a lot for the communities, and I like him. I wish the Lions were smart enough to use him in the capacity that the Rams did and build someone like Stafford. Had he been around 20 years earlier and had a Barry Sanders on his team with him, who knows?
Well, but he had Megatron.
He did, but we had no running game at the time.
I know.
The Lions can never put together a full team. And then we had it where when we had the all-time best defensive team, the offense was just horrific. It's like we can only do half of anything, half a game, half a team, half of whatever. We'll have a great running back, but no one to pass to. We'll have a great passer, but no one to run. You need football is a team sport. And the Lions just don't seem to know that. I don't know.
Yep. Well, another thing is, and this is pretty my last thing on this, is the people that want to talk about how Matthew Stafford finally got the Super Bowl ring he deserves.
Yeah, no one deserves
it. I don't agree with that. No, it should be earned. And the Rams themselves earned their thing this year, but they weren't perfect. These weren't their games I watched these playoff games they won. They weren't blowouts. They a lot of times they were towards the end there, and it was the other team screwed up enough, and that's what it was. I mean, they were watching that last scoring drive that the Rams did. He got lucky that they had a couple fouls when the whole game was no fouls, no personal fouls or anything like that, and they had a pass interference call, which even afterwards, there were people that were players posting pictures saying, no, that wasn't pass interference.
Yeah.
That was a BS call. So
I can't speak to the game itself because I didn't watch it. What we did watch, so we're, people have been following us. Once again, thank you so much for the prayers for Emily. Her improvement, I'll give a quick update. It is astronomical how much she has improved these last few days. Yesterday, it felt like the old Emily. She was for the first time, she was laughing, smiling. A lot of the pain is gone. We did have to shave her head from the chemo, but we did that a year ago, and her hair grew back amazing how fast it grew. But she still has a ways to go, but things are definitely, we went past the worst part. It seems like we got to wait on certain test results to make sure, did it affect the leukemia the way we're hoping? So that's the next round of prayers if you could continue that. But so with Jill's girls, we were there for Super Bowl Sunday, just doing whatever, but they really wanted to see the halftime show. So we turned it on for the halftime show, which I will say it's not my type of music. I thought overall it was a good performance. Little sidebar, I've been heavily preached to these last 10 years how everything is about diversity and mixture. So I guess Eminem was the token white guy in the mix, but everything's supposed to be diverse, I thought. But anyway,
well, I mean, the whole all the performers though were, and this is a little bit of, as it was centered around Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre is the one that signed all those performers there. I'm pretty sure. I think I'm not sure about Mary J. Blige as much, but I know he's tied into her quite a bit.
Yes,
and he discovered Eminem and brought him to the national stage. 50 Cent, and of course Snoop Dogg. Was a town over there in Long Beach from Compton, so they knew each other. And
but it's not my style of music I like. Yeah, but I thought they put on a good show. I thought it was very well done. Not my thing. It wasn't unpleasant to watch at all. It could have been far worse. There's been far worse. Greatest a lot of people were putting greatest Super Bowl halftime ever. I don't know if anything will top the Prince one, but Prince,
and then 1997 had Blues Brothers. So hard to top that.
Well, the phenomenal thing about the Prince one was it was done in the rain, and he went out and jammed it. He killed it in the full-blown rain.
And this wasn't this post Janet Jackson?
I think so. I could be wrong.
I want to say it was post Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake, that bit. But I remember when Prince did that, it was he played a lot of hits. He moved around. The problem I have with some of these, and it's not just this year's, but many of these Super Bowl ones, is the mix. A lot of times the mix doesn't come through right. I think the sound is off. A lot of it is pre-recorded. It's not all live.
A lot of times they'll do a live recording before the show, and play the live recording that they did, so it sounds live. And then a lot of times they'll leave the mic on so they can, if they want to ad lib into it, they can.
Right.
But the whole performance isn't dependent upon a working mic. They could just play the previous thing.
Yep.
And it's hard to do those kind of things live for TV. I mean, even like shows like Saturday Night Live, a lot of times the bands don't sound nearly as good on Saturday Night Live as a typical setting because the acoustics aren't made for that. And
in a live mixes are very difficult at times either. I mean, it's a lot of times when you get a live album and it sounds phenomenal, it's been heavily worked on in the studio because they recorded it as clear as many mics as they can raw, so they can jump in from different avenues.
Right.
It's like
the Kiss album is the all-time best live album. The majority of it's not live, but
Cheap Trick was a Cheap Trick live at Budokan. That is probably the best one, and it really was all done live. But they didn't mix it live; it was recorded with using
separate tracks,
multiple tracks. So when they took it in the studio, they could do a good mix. They could clear it up, and even nowadays, with a lot of technology, they can do After Effects glitch. But live sound stuff coming through is never going to be as good. But I agree. I think they did a good job. I was glad that they, just kind of showcase some of their music and things like that. The kneeling part from Eminem, I've seen so many things about it. I personally don't feel it was a protest thing. I think it was he did that because at the time a lot of people didn't realize that's when Dr. Dre played Tupac's music, and that was more of just showing a little respect to Tupac and not an NFL thing.
Honestly, I don't care. He doesn't represent the NFL, and as an individual, he's made his political opinions very well known. Yep. So, as an individual, I have no issue. It's when the league supports it is when I have an issue. The league should not be supporting and when people are on that they are an entertainment thing, whatever. But a lot of musicians are tied to their politics, and we know Eminem's stance. So even if he did it politically, I don't care. I still really love hearing about his weak. Someone put, well, he already told us his arms were heavy and his knees were weak. So
as he's getting old, like we talk about here.
Yeah, so. But it's a phenomenal song, and even though I don't agree with his politics, I can appreciate the song, for what it is. So
no, and I said, and I think they did fine. It was a neat halftime show, and
so after the halftime show, I just happened to catch about 2 minutes of the game before we turned it off, and it's so funny. I turned it on, and Bengals scored within like 10 seconds or something.
Yeah,
and then Stafford threw an interception, and I'm just like, looks like the same old Lions. It's Stafford.
But well, and that's the thing. When I saw one of the interceptions, he threw the interception in the end zone, and the look at they zoomed in on Stafford's face, and that was the moment I see him do all the time with something wrong. He's just complete disbelief that anybody would pick him.
What I did notice in that brief moment, though, to me, even though the Bengals had all the momentum on their side, it looked like they were playing like overly aggressive, and so I was just like, geez, they should be getting some penalties. I think like the one guy did a face mask.
Yeah, I was shocked that when they get called.
Yeah, that was like a major one. So, and they were starting to push people at the sidelines. So I'm like, if they don't rein it in,
that's where especially in the second half, that's where the Bengals really started to lose it. They got way too aggressive, way too emotionally aggressive, and they should have played a little more of what they've been playing before, which was smarter football.
Yeah,
you can play hard, but they got stupid, and that's why they lost the game.
Yep. So on that note, if you want a team who knows how to play right, check out Team Titans of Real Estate. That's right, Jill and I. We're a great team. We've been doing this a long time. We have a lot of experience. And what I just want to point out is spring is right around the corner, less than 5 weeks away. Can you believe it? So with that said, and today's weather, we're going to have a warm spell here, it looks like. So it'll really feel like spring.
Yep.
And with the nicer weather, people start thinking about real estate. They start thinking about putting their homes up for sale. A lot of times people say start of spring or after Easter. Those are the two most common things we get told. But here's the thing. If that's what you're thinking, now is the time to call us, because that gives us time to come in. We give you a free market analysis, tell you what the house is currently worth in today's market. But also, you have time for us to go through the house and give you the tips and the pointers to what things to fix up or touch up or rearrange to properly stage your home to maximize your house's resale value. Those little things can make a big difference. So that you would have a few weeks to get all those little final touches in place before we go ahead and list the house for sale. So give us a call. 586-232-5144 is our team hotline number, or check us out at teamtitansofrealestate.com, which you see on the screen here. Thank you.
Excellent. I was playing
around. See how I segued into the team?
Yeah. And while you're doing that, I started playing with some of the different things we can do here on StreamYard. So
nice. We got Michelle Rodriguez in the house. She's teeing away.
Yeah, next week Wednesday, Michelle will be one of the leaders along with Savage Sticks out of Taylor. So
nice.
Nikki will be helping out, of course, as Michelle's cohort, and they're doing this dual drumming team event thing that's gonna be next Wednesday. If you kind of Google and look for I think it's called Rollers Cardio Drumming on Facebook. I'll actually be live streaming it using our StreamYard. So you guys can check out what cardio drumming is. It's a great exercise, a lot of fun. Michelle and Nikki run a great thing down at the roller rink. Michelle also does the Sumter Township, and then the Savage Sticks people are down in Taylor. And I've heard a lot
love that name, Savage Sticks.
Yeah.
So you mentioned live streaming. One last thing before we get into our main content. Edgar Allan Poe enamel pins. Kevin Miner, who does our Bardstone's Poe Macabre Master series, is launching his Kickstarter tonight. So we'll be live streaming. Is it 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight?
7 p.m. tonight. We'll go live and talk for about a half hour about the pins and everything we've been doing. And this is a neat little thing to offer. And then we'll be talking about some of the upcoming Kickstarters. We got a few already in the works that we're going to be doing. So we've got trades this year for Poe Macabre, Crimson Shadows. We will give an update of that again because Scott's got the books, and we'll be
slight hiccup, but I'm still moving forward. I was unpacking everything, making sure the order's all in, and found out all of our the metal 4x6 and the metal trading cards are not in. So I messaged them, and they just forgot to notify me. They had an issue with they were expecting some inventory of metal to print on. They had an issue getting that in when they expected. So those are not in. They didn't want to hold up the rest of the order. So they shipped that. They're going to ship out the metals next. They expect by end of this week to ship the metals. So here's what I'm doing in the meantime. It delays me slightly, but I'll still be on time for everybody as long as the time frame is right that they're telling me. The orders that have no metals in them, I will put together and get those shipped out. I'll be packaging them now, and by end of this week, those ones will be going out. The other orders, I will prep and just make notes on each order with what's waiting. So when they arrive, I can quickly slip them into each order, and I'll be able to get them processed quickly. So I should still have everything shipped out by end of next week. Like I said, right now there's a lot of moving parts, and we're relying on other moving parts to get these things on time. But it looks like we'll be okay. It'll be tight, but it will be okay.
And it happens. I mean, the hardest problem right now with publishing is materials, and it's not just metal; it's paper, it's everything. So, we were hoping that's why we delayed our delivery window to be February to get through the holidays, hoping that it would start to get better. But still a little bit behind on getting stuff, and that's
still a little behind. But we put enough padding in the timeline. With Bardstone, the turnaround, or with Ready Comics, the turnaround time usually is a little faster. But I know people who own manufacturing facilities. It's a night. You talk about nightmare on delivery of parts and stuff. Things are stuck at sea and everything, which is another reason why we used a U.S. company. We love using U.S. companies for our sourcing, and we didn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But still, there's staffing issues everywhere. There's supply issues. There's a lot going on in the world. So, thankfully we put that cushion in the time frame.
Yeah. so awesome. Can't wait for y'all to see the book.
I will say this, Kevin's enamel pins, he's already got them in hand. So there is no threat of delays. Everything's in hand, and whatever rewards there are, he will be able to ship right away.
Yeah, we did a at San Diego special edition. I think he did at C2E2, and then he had a few this past weekend. We had some available at the shows just to kind of gauge response, and the response has been very positive on that. Everybody loves the quality of them. They're up there with like a Disney pin, so
they really are. And I'm if this is successful, I'm going to do one for our Crimson Shadows pins to get those going. As well. I wanted to do one last thing. The Great Lakes Comic-Con is coming up, which is right here. Let me share this for all you fine folks out there in StreamYard land.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Great Lakes. So we got the Great Lakes Comic Convention this weekend. So Brett and Kevin will officially be there. I will be there in a non-official capacity.
Yep.
Are you guys setting up? Is it Friday morning, or do you guys set up on Thursday?
We'll set up on Friday afternoon. Show doesn't start till 5 p.m. Friday, so I'm working in the morning a couple, and then I'll head out. I should be at the convention by 2 to get set up, and then Kevin won't roll into almost 5, maybe a little bit later. We are set up next to each other. He's listed under Kevin Meinert. I'm listed under Bardstone. So you can find us that way. So
we'll coordinate when you both will be there. I'll come down. I'll maybe help with setup and stuff. But So I've got the books for Crimson Shadows 3 that Brett and Kevin will have. I have a supply for each of them. So if you weren't part of the Kickstarter, you want to get Crimson Shadows 3 or Crimson Shadows 1 and 2, Wretched Realms, the Poe series, those will all be available at the Great Lakes Comic Convention this weekend. If you are expecting books from the Kickstarter and you are going to be there, message me if you want me to drop them off for them so you can just pick it up from them if you don't want it going through the mail. So send me a message between, either today or tomorrow. I'll get your order ready, drop it off to Brett and Kevin for you to pick up.
Yeah, and you got a week. You got to do it next week even. So I mean, up till
I would say it's not this weekend.
No, it's next weekend.
So
I would say
get
a hold of Scott before next Wednesday. And the reason I say next Wednesday is that way it gives him a couple days, make sure he's got everything together. He'll drop them off at the show. You can come pick them up at the tables. We'll have them there with your name on them.
And then you can peruse Brett and Kevin's wares to see.
So if there's other books you've never bought of mine, like my Boomtown Scabs, The Adventures of Carl, or The Expendables, we have those available. I will know that Poe Macabre, the issue 2 is probably the least available right now.
Yeah. A lot of our earlier books are starting to become.
I've got plenty of. I got a bunch of issue 1s of Crimson Shadows. Scott and I will be talking. I'll need to get some more issue 2s from him, so I have to buy some off of him so I can sell to you guys. But, and then I'll have whatever I get for issue 3. And issue 3 is going to be the most limited of the Crimson Shadows.
Yes. And here's the other thing, in case you don't know. So the way we're doing this is we got Poe issues 1 through 3 and Crimson Shadows issues 1 through 3.
Yep.
Our next publications of each will be a trade paperback book that will combine issues 1 through 3 of each one into their own trade books. Mm-hmm. We don't plan on doing second printing runs of the earlier copies, and we do put first print run in there too, so there's a distinction. If we ever do another print run, it will be labeled as such for collectors, but we don't plan on doing the regular books, and we'll move over to trade as we go, and then we'll start doing individual issues for issues 4, 5, and 6, and then we'll do the second trade, and so on and so forth. So if you like collecting the actual issues, it's first come, first serve. We're running low. Each Kickstarter we do, we sell quite a bit of our inventory off. Each show we do, we're selling a lot of books. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty here where there's not much to choose from. So if you want it, you got to grab it.
Yep. So definitely check that out. In fact, I told people that at the NWICon. I said, you know what? I said, these are all first editions in the Bardstone stuff, and they most likely will never be reprinted in this format.
Yep.
So trade-wise, they'll go to the trades, and the trades will be, there may be an initial run of the trade, and maybe we'll distinguish that, but trades will most likely end up being like a print-on-demand type situation. So if you want the books that will be worth tens of dollars, it will be the individual issues.
Or tens of thousands of dollars.
We can only hope.
I hope. One can dream. So should we, let's see, before we get into the real fun topic, which is Book of Boba Fett season finale, I wanted to just point out also, we won't get deep into this, but Jill and I finally finished Ozark. Season 4, part 1. Yeah, well, we were kind of busy with Emily, so it took much longer to watch than we expected. We are such fans of Ozark. We really love it. I'll just give a spoiler-free review. Kind of expected what happens at the end with Wyatt, is all I'll say. Certain things happen. I'm just like, okay, I know where this is going. But they ended it on a good note. Now it's a mid-season finale, so we got a part 2 coming. Did they say when the part 2 is coming?
No, they're speculating on things I looked up that it will happen probably around June at the earliest.
Okay.
And the reason is May 31st is the cutoff for Emmy nominations. So if they release part 2 in June, then those episodes will qualify for Emmy consideration
the following year.
So that they can get 2 years out of the last season for Emmy nominations.
That makes sense.
So it's 'cause the awards are important, not so much for an ongoing series when it's ending, but it's important for the actors, producers, and everything else on future projects. So.
Definitely. So we thoroughly enjoyed it. If you've never seen Ozark, if you've seen things like Breaking Bad and are a fan of that, Ozark is along that vein where I think you'll like it. It's an interesting series, and I just every episode I like Wendy Bird less and less.
This season, so far, I mean, this season she's at her worst.
Yes. She's kind of going the path of Walter White, where Walter became addicted to the power and couldn't let go of the empire. And
well, for her, it's not even just empire; it's absolute control.
Yeah,
she is the biggest control freak on TV. She's not just trying to control their business, her marriage, but her kids, and of course the younger son, who's 14, is doing stuff he shouldn't be doing legally, but at the same time, they set everything up for that, and and she wants complete control of everything. I mean, she's even trying to control the cartel in some ways.
Oh yeah. So. And she's ruthless. She's willing to make some big sacrifices. She'll act like she's devastated by the choices, but she's the one making the choices.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyways, Ozark was great. I loved.
It was a good first half. I can't wait for the second half to see how they finally wrap it up. I definitely Breaking Bad feel with the elements there, but not fully. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
So after that, we needed a show to watch, and we turned to the Reacher series. Have you watched the Reacher series yet?
Yeah, I went through the whole thing.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
The way it started off, I was watching the first couple episodes, like, okay, the first one especially, and the second one. The thing though is, and I found this out after the fact, is the books were much different than the Tom Cruise movies.
Yes,
I knew of the Tom Cruise movies. As it got going, I really started to like it. My favorite characters were Roscoe and then the detective. Okay. Reacher was good. He got better through this series. I like the guy. He's really good as Hawk on Titans.
I like him far better as Hawk.
Yeah, but when I read about the Reacher character from the books, he played it exactly how the character in the books is.
Okay.
So that's where, if you didn't necessarily like it, you got to realize that that's the characterization of that from the first book, especially. And there's like 27 Reacher books out there. So they've got a lot of source material.
Yeah. They even tell you at the beginning of the episode which book the content is from.
Yeah, it's the whole movie or whole series is from the same book. Because it says based on whatever that book's name was.
Yeah.
Which I found very interesting. They did that way because usually it's in the credits, but they're making sure, like, okay, here it's based on this one, so maybe then the second series will be based on whatever book is next. But I'm wondering on some changes because this is a spoiler. I'll give a quick spoiler, but it's not going to ruin anything on how this story is told. The detective and Roscoe are not in any other books,
but they are in that book.
They're in that first book.
Okay. Yeah, but I have a feeling each season he'll maybe go to a different town or something.
That's kind of what it was. He'd go to different places around the country, and different things happen. The one female character that was his. I don't know how far you're into it. She was part of his squad when he was in the military.
Yeah, I saw her come on the train to deliver stuff.
From what I read, is she was not in the first book.
Oh wait, you're talking
second or third.
The one on his squad. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the African American girl that was military. Yeah,
I was talking about the one that knew Joe.
Okay,
no brother.
Yeah, no. But
so far with her, I just know he made a phone call to her to ask for information. That's all I've seen of her.
Yeah, she was not even in the first book, was my understanding. This was something they chose to do. I think it's to kind of help create that character coming forward a different way. We're going to see changes from the books, like you see with anything. And I'd like to see, hopefully, because I mean, everything I'm reading this last week when it pops up is the Roscoe character is one of the more popular characters, and I liked her a lot. So
for me, I haven't finished the season yet. I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. Yes. I found episode 3 and 4, and I think I'm halfway through 5. I think is where
you're getting close there, because there's only like 7 or 8 episodes. So,
but to me, it started feeling redundant. Like, it's like, okay, we get it. You're the strong, brooding type who doesn't talk much. It just felt like it's like this cycle I'm on now where it's starting to become predictable. And I'm not crazy about right now. I'm at the point where it's like, okay, I've liked it enough to finish the season, but unless something drastically changes in the last 2 episodes,
these last 2.5, 3 episodes that you've got. He opens up more. I think the character become better. I think, and a lot of that had to do with the writing.
Okay, yeah,
and it wasn't him. So
that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping
they open up. We start to see more. We learn a little more here and there. And then the ultimate finale stuff is I was very happy with how it went.
Okay, good. That's what like me and Jill were talking while we're watching, where we were actually kind of like bored. It's like, okay, yeah, he beat up another guy. It's like it's becoming predictable, and they're making him so powerful in these. There's no threat to him. Like you're not like on the key is tension with the character. As a viewer, you got to have some risk that the character will die, even though he's going to make it because of the series, but. He almost is like a superhero in this, in that nobody can touch him. Like,
well, and it towards the end, I think it's a little more satisfied than that. I did like though the fact that they were building up on that, and I forget which character it was, but the one said something. He goes, and he looked at him and goes, "Well, I haven't hit you yet." He basically let him know, like, if I hit you, you're gonna feel it, and that's who he was. He is a big hulking guy.
He's a big guy. He should be in Marvel movies.
Yeah. And his training is as the character's training and everything else lends to a lot of this stuff, and so it's
just he's too. And like I said, I understand they're setting. This is season 1. There's a lot of build up and setup happening, so that's why I'm being patient to see where it goes, because a lot of series are that way. If the payoff is good, I'll gladly watch season 2. Yeah. But so far, it's like in every scene. He's the smartest guy. In every scene, he's the biggest guy. In every scene, he's the fastest guy. He's the best at everything. So if there's no weaknesses to a character, like even losing his brother, it didn't kill him emotionally. Like it's like he can handle it and push through. Now, obviously, he's bottling it up. I have a feeling they're going to reveal something in that, but I don't know. But it's just in every single thing, no matter what it is, he knows more about blues music than anybody. He knows more about forensics than anybody. He knows it's just too much. He has to be weak in something.
It gets there. I think it gets there. I think he is definitely there. A lot of this first season was to showcase the fact that besides being physically trained, he's not an idiot and he's not dumb. He knows a lot of stuff. He's well educated, self-educated in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There's the flashbacks when he was younger that kind of help.
Did you notice who's playing the younger him?
I didn't know who it was.
That was Will Robinson, I think, from Lost in Space.
Wait a minute, you're right. Yeah, it was.
It's just he keeps growing.
Yeah, it didn't click at that point, but it was him. Now, as you say that, I thought he looked familiar, but I was going, nah, I don't know. But yeah. Oh, well, he jumped from Netflix to Prime, so that's how I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, is that legal?
I know.
I would make
it legal. The scenes from the younger Reacher, which I always find interesting. He only wants to be called by his last name, Reacher.
Like what mother's gonna call their son by their last name? Yeah, like that.
I didn't understand that, so that's the only thing. I mean, he's got a first name, but it's and
I don't think an older brother would call him by his last name.
Yeah,
or the dad. Like
I didn't understand
you Reacher. I don't know. That was weird.
So that was something I was off on that, but I really enjoyed the whole series. I look forward to a second. It's been renewed. It was renewed 3 days into the release, so we know there will be another one. And he's making an appearance with Scott and I at the Motor City Comic-Con in May.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, they announced it yesterday.
Nice.
And I had to redo my paperwork with them because I think they screwed up when they approved me right away.
So far, though. I like him as an actor. I loved him as Hawk in Titans. And my hope is Marvel picks him up for a role. I think he would be he definitely knows how to do good action sequences, how to fight. He has the look of a superhero without it. I mean, he's like 6'5" in real life. You know, I don't know his real height, but
he's a big SOB, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's been around. He's actually been in a lot of stuff.
Well, he was Aquaman on the CW series, I believe.
For Smallville, I think it was. Yeah.
Was it Smallville? Okay, and he wasn't even that big back then. He was big, but not that big.
He was much slimmer compared to his normal. So there is one scene where this guy they're in prison and they make them take off their shirts and stuff. Yeah. I'm like, I feel so bad for that actor. I mean, the guy was in okay shape. I mean, far better shape than me, but having to have your shirt off next to him, that just doesn't seem fair. I'm like, really? This is my shirtless scene?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I had to look him up real quick. Yeah, it was Smallville. He was in the Turtles movies. He must have been one of the characters in the costume or something.
Yeah, I think he was. What's his real name?
Alan Richson.
Alan
Richson. Yeah,
there he is.
And he did Blue Mountain State football. I didn't watch that. I remember hearing about that. So he's been around a little bit. Oh, and he's in Catching Fire, the Hunger Games movie. So
let's see.
He's done a few things.
So in real life, he's 6'2", which especially for Hollywood is huge. A lot. Yeah. It's amazing how many people in Hollywood are like 5'7" and stuff. You know, like,
I mean,
Tom Cruise is 5'7".
Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's see, his real weight is he's 6'2" and 190 pounds, which it's solid muscle. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you look at earlier pictures, like from even the picture of him from like Blue Mountain, all this stuff, he's got some muscle, but he's definitely is bulked up for this role.
Yeah.
So, and for Titans too. He is playing a superhero on Titan. He bulked up for that.
Yeah, but he truly has the gravitas of a superhero. So
yes,
let's go, Marvel. Let's get him cast. He's legit.
Yeah,
and he's at that perfect level of fame now where people, you get somebody too famous, all their past roles and baggage comes with them. Mm-hmm. He's like a clean slate, so you could cast him for a major role. He's 39, so you got about 5 to 10 years of use out of him before he probably won't be able to keep up as much bulk.
No, actually, he's 37, so they even got a couple more years on top of that.
37. Look at that.
So, but he's, I was looking him up here. He's married. He's got a wife. It looks like they got 3 kids and all that stuff. So he's a family man. So I mean, he's one of those guys that he looks like hopefully he stays out of trouble. He would be a great addition to something like Marvel. But who knows? DC may have him wrapped up with what they're doing with Titans.
Could be.
Yeah, if they end up doing like a Hawk and Dove series or something like that. But I think he would be great in anything Marvel. I can speculate which role he could play, but he could do a lot of different ones. So
I think he would make a good Colossus or Juggernaut or like one of those type of big guys.
Yeah. If they want to go that route. Yeah.
But anyways.
Hey, but we got some other stuff to talk about too. So definitely check out Reacher. I think it's well worth it. And then Scott, I think you'll enjoy the last few episodes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see where it goes.
But okay, so now we're gonna have spoilers on the last episode of Book of Boba Fett. So nice thing is I don't have to don't talk about today's episode because there wasn't one. So overall, I really liked it. I think it's funny watching the different posts about what people didn't like. And the one thing I laughed at too is the same thing as post is the one character part of the bike squad. And he does a complete 360 spin just to shoot his pistol once. I saw that when I watched it going, I just went, okay, that was just a filmmaking decision.
Well, or was that paying homage to classic Obi-Wan Kenobi spin when he was fighting Vader? It was like the worst spin ever. But at the time when we were 6, it was so cool.
Yeah.
He spun around and they clash.
Yeah.
It's so funny. The other thing that's interesting too is Alec Guinness, when he filmed the Star Wars movies, he was something like he was only a couple years older than Ewan McGregor is now.
Right. Yeah. Ewan's hitting that age and Ewan looks way younger.
It's like, isn't it bizarre how people are aging so different now?
Mm-hmm.
It's like weird. It's like, how are they just like a few years apart?
Well, I think it just varies from person to person, of course, because I see a lot of actors that they're working really hard to stay young, eating. So I mean, look at like Tom Brady. He's got a whole regiment to look like he's still 25 and he's 45, and
right
and stuff like that. And then you look at a lot of the actors. I mean, you look at a lot of actresses. Geez,
Fennec, Min Na Wing,
Ming Na's late 50s.
Ming Na.
Even off of that, I saw something pop up on one of the things I looked the other day. Remember Denise Austin did all those exercise shows in the 80s. She just turned 65, and I swear, if you looked at pictures of her, she looks like she's 35 still. So it's a lot of eating out, exercise, stuff like that, but and different actors, stuff like that, definitely look younger for a longer time and stuff like that. And it's a whole change of things. But then there's also times where I saw pictures of Alec Guinness from the 70s, and he didn't look as old as he did playing Obi-Wan. So a lot of it has to do with, styles, cuts, things like that, letting the gray grow out, things like, stuff like that. So
that's true too. But I really enjoyed the book Boba Fett. Some people are like, well, it's a Boba Fett series. Why is the Mandalorian in it? It's no different as with the Marvel series. They are doing series on it's a shared universe, and characters come and go. Like I said last week, the Captain America Civil War movie. It was more of an Avengers movie than a Captain America movie. It's just these characters it's a fluid situation. Stories are colliding with other stories. Characters are coming and going. So I had no issue with the fact that the Mandalorian appeared in a bunch of it.
Well, and this is a direct spinoff of The Mandalorian. And the thing is that when, read people online, I didn't engage in him because it didn't matter. I really didn't care to engage him. But I'll tell you this, it was watching the series, you got everything we wanted. We got the backstory for Boba Fett on what happened during those 5 years before we saw him in The Mandalorian from Return of the Jedi. And then we saw what he was attempting to set up there. And a lot of this was like, okay, they're keeping him there in Tatooine. He's going to try to set something up. He's been through a lot. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, what's he going to do now? And it's like, so he's like, well, I'll just become the crime lord. I know Jabba's dead. He walked in, he took out Bib Fortuna and said, I'll just take over. I'll be the new guy. Thinking he just walk into it and he was going to, and they didn't say this directly. My thought was, okay, they're trying to show Boba Fett saying, you know what? I'm tired of this life I've had, this running around the galaxy, being a bounty hunter. It's time to retire in style. And I can take a palace, have money, and just chill.
Yeah, and I think what this series does is I think they're going to do a pivot, as Ross said, in Friends. I don't think he likes this lifestyle. I think he's going to want to return to bounty hunting.
Well, it was alluded by a couple different characters that you're a bounty hunter. You're not a crime lord. It's been kind of discussed a little bit as the series went ongoing.
And even his own words, though, as he's walking through the streets and everyone's bowing to him and giving him gifts for saving them, he's like, can't they just wave or whatever? And she's like, well, you're a crime lord now. And he's like, well, maybe this isn't for me then.
Yeah, that was one of the last things we hear from him is, basically him acknowledging that, okay, I saved the town, they now owe me, but at the same time, do I really want this? It's not
right.
Out from and even in the beginning, he talked about, well, Jabba had his, people that they'd bring him on the platform, parade them, big parade and stuff like that all the time. And there was a lot more to it. And he's realizing that, being a crime lord, if you want that, that's fine. But it's not what he wants. So
I have a feeling he's going to go away from this. Now, one thing that we did learn in this, though, is there were tons of rumors that that Harrison Ford filmed some scenes for this. That obviously turned out to be false. There was no younger Harrison Ford. I wonder if Disney put that out there as a float to distract people from the Luke Skywalker appearance.
I was thinking that myself. And I think if we do see a de-aged Han Solo, it'll be something that'll be set up more for an entire series. They didn't set up any of this. There was no talk of Han Solo, no allusion to it or anything like that. Yeah. And I'm wondering too how much Boba Fett really even cares.
Yeah. I would have liked, though, for me as a fan, since they brought Luke into this series, I think it would have been nice if Luke brought Grogu back and then we had an interaction between Boba and Luke, since Luke fought Boba above the Sarlacc. Han is the one that triggered the jetpack and sent him into the Sarlacc. But what would Boba have any hard feelings? Would he want revenge? Would he whatever? I don't think he would, but it would make for a nice tense scene maybe of them, even if it was a brief nodding of the head or whatever. But Now, one thing we did get is an amazing tribute scene to King Kong, I think.
Yeah.
You had the Rancor rampaging through the city, him climbing buildings. To me, it was a pure King Kong scene.
Yes. Well, what I liked about it is we got what I knew would happen is we got Boba Fett when things were about, they were basically getting their butts kicked because they got these new, look like, almost like droidicas from the prequels and that, but they were different.
They were like
upgraded,
Terminator,
bigger, Terminator style. And they were tough. They had shields, everything else, and so they're taking on this stuff. And of course, it was a reminiscent of what we saw in Mandalorian. Fighting the Imperials, and that it was a similar standoff type situation. Well, with Boba Fett, and then when they get separated, he goes and he gets the Rancor, and he's riding the Rancor through town, which I knew we would get. There was no way they could allude to that early on and then not show it. So I knew that was going to come in this episode here. I thought it was pretty cool. The Rancor took on something. The Rancors are tough. They could take some blaster hits and keep going. So,
they got tough skin.
So it's definitely is an interesting thing with that. And then of course, when he's by himself, he just takes off and starts destroying. And
I think also just a shout out. I mean, this is a TV series. Yes. One thing I haven't heard too much about is, they are doing movie quality special effects for the series. The Rancor blended in seamlessly, CGI wise, into the show. It was phenomenal the way they edited it. This truly is movie level special effects for a TV series.
Yep. No, it was. I always been very impressed with all the stuff Disney's been doing. They're not holding back the money. They want the quality to be good. They want it to look good, and the way it's being filmed. I mean, it's and I know they're using digital cameras, but they've got a film look on everything. They're using a lot of practical effects, and it's not all about CGI. So
I think they finally found their niche in that they understand who we are as fans, and they understand the payoff. Through subscriptions through Disney Plus is huge, but also, I'm telling you, every time the toys come out, I can still find Last Jedi toys on the shelf. Nobody wants them. I can still find anything to do with that. They're still there. But the Mando stuff comes out, the Bad Batch stuff comes out. It is off the shelf as soon as it goes on.
Yeah, that stuff's not lasting at all.
Yeah. And there's huge money in the merchandising. Lucas made far more money off of toys than he ever did off the movies.
Yeah.
So, and then the licensing fee. So they know if they can put the quality in here and keep us coming back for the merchandise, they're going to that's where they're going to make their money back.
Well, and that's the whole thing. And now the one thing I don't know if you saw this week on merchandise, they released what the new Black Curse, whatever the Wookiee is, is based off an issue of the comics, not off the Boba Fett series, which is a big mistake. And basically, it looks literally like a repainted Chewbacca figure with really crappy plastic He-Man armor. I was so when I heard this, I was like, oh, cool. This is crap. And the Black series has been so good. Hopefully, it's just.
I have a feeling that was a last minute, like, oh, this character's popular. Let's throw this in really quick.
It's not even coming out for a year, so they got plenty of time to work on it. It's going to be released in a year, which they've been doing that a lot. They've been announcing a lot of these toys, and they come out a year later. So it's going to be interesting. Cad Bane does have a pre-order, I believe, today at 1:00 on Amazon Black Series.
Okay.
I saw something online in that. And that's the other thing. We had Cad Bane back in this episode here. Boba Fett and him squared off, which harkens back to like the Rebels and Clone Wars series, dealing with Cad Bane. And basically, if everything went true, it looks like Boba took out Cad Bane, but I don't think he's really dead yet.
Yeah, some eagle-eyed viewers pointed out there's this thing on his chest, and the LED light started blinking again. So I believe they've shown that. I can't remember if I saw it in the animated series or what, but
I want to say they did it like Rebels or something like that.
Where if it stopped, like a bomb would go off. It was like a death switch that the bounty hunter had on themselves, and it might have even been Cad Bane to trigger something if he dies.
Yeah,
and so I think that's what that was that he was wearing. So
we'll see. I mean, we don't have we see him laying there. Boba Fett jabbed him pretty good, and So we'll see. I mean, it's still something they could, if they decided to bring him back to recuperate. The other thing is when people are criticizing the way he looks, you got to keep in mind that this is now, 30 years later. He's not this, his coloration wasn't exactly the same. He's going to change some looks a little bit besides going from animated to live action. But I think they did just a great job. And I like the fact that he brought in the actual voice actor to do the voices.
Okay. So I had not seen this picture. This is horrible.
Oh, it's bad.
This is a repainted Chewie without a doubt.
Yeah.
Even his weapon.
Yeah.
Even his weapon.
Yeah. And it's
this has to be fake.
It's like they don't even have it's released by it was all over the Star Wars stuff.
Oh my God.
And the thing is, like, they don't have the braids right, they don't have the coloring right. I mean, they just went solid black.
If you're gonna go with a repaint, at least go to the episode 1 Wookiees or episode 3 Wookiees, where they were the giant Wookiees. Chewie was a small Wookiee, and Chewie has a distinctive look. Yeah. Go get what was his name? I'm blanking on the name of the huge Wookiee from the prequels. Take him, throw some dreads on him. At least that would be closer. This is awful.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing is this literally is just a Chewbacca sculpt they've had before.
Yeah, so. And this looks like almost like a Chewbacca sculpt to me, especially painted black. It looks like when Chewie meets Han Solo in the Solo movie, and he's all covered in mud.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, so I'm really hoping that they change it.
Black Series, you have done a phenomenal job. This is a hack.
Yeah,
maybe this is just a one of those prototype pictures that they reserve the right to change.
Well, I hope so, because it's pretty bad. So,
well, if enough people complain on social media, they'll read it and they'll hopefully fix it. That's awful.
Well, a couple more things we got in the Boba Fett, though, is when everything's all said and done, the Mandalorian, Grogu had showed up, and Grogu chose the Mandalorian. He's got it wearing his shirt that the Mandalorian brought to him, and so they've taken off in the retrofitted Naboo starfighter. Mm-hmm. And so you've got them going off whatever their adventure is going to be tied into for the next season of the Mandalorian, probably tied into him trying to the waters of Mandalore. I think we're going to see a lot of stuff centering around the Darksaber, and I'm sure we'll see Bo-Katan and all them coming back, and there'll be a lot of with Mandalorians themselves. I think we're going to see the revitalization of Mandalore.
So. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. As far as Grogu, so evidently he chose the chainmail and not the lightsaber. So Luke sent him back to be with the Mando. At that scene, though, I really thought Luke or Ahsoka was going to come back and then be part of everything. But it turns out the X-Wing was empty, piloted by R2-D2. I would say I would not trust Grogu by himself with all those controls all around him.
Well, I have a feeling that R2 shut off a lot of stuff.
Oh, he might shut it off, but I could picture him actually stealing the switches and knobs and taking them off and pocketing them.
And when he sees them, what's the Mandalorian do? He gives him that little ball.
The little ball. Yep.
And that, so definitely, is something like that. But
and what's her name? Eileen Sorkin? No, the Sedaris. Amy
Sedaris. Yep.
Amy Sedaris, her character. She might have a new love interest. She met that Twi'lek mayor ambassador guy. She seemed to take a liking to him. So maybe there'll be a couple down the road.
Could be.
She dates Jawas. Who knows who else she dates? Maybe some sand people.
It sounds like she's definitely willing to try anything. So I liked her character a lot. So she was funny, and she took part of the battle. It was hilarious. So she brought Grogu to Mandalorian, and then we're in the middle of a battle, and of course he had Grogu disabling the robot using the Force power. So he's got his Force right now. So we'll see.
And then he went and napped next to the Rancor after he quieted him down. So that was cute. But that was fun. I enjoyed the series. I really did. There were some parts, I wasn't crazy about the Vespa gang. To me, I think that was Rodriguez's touch. To me, it's the tech for those modified people felt more Spy Kids than Star Wars. But even then, I was fine with it. Star Wars, at the end of the day, is always for 6 to 10-year-olds. That's who it's meant for, and it was fun. So I didn't mind it.
Yeah. The deleted scene too is from episode 6 to 7. We didn't know what happened to the sheriff.
Oh, the post-credit scene.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's in the back to tank.
Yeah, because the back to tank gets mentioned, and he's like, "Oh, it's being used," and then we found in the credit scene,
which surprised me.
Cobb Vanth is in there, and then also the guy standing there is the modification doctor. Yeah, Rick James.
Yep. So he's getting modded. So when he said the back to tank's being used, I really thought it was going to be the Wookiee. Mm-hmm. But the Wookiee's probably too big to fit in there. But because he had said, I owe you some time in the back to tank when the Wookiee was all shot up when he was making his way back. So another interesting interaction was Boba and the Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. He's like, you don't have to stay here. You can leave. And the Mandalorian's like, no, I gave you my word. And Boba's like, you still believe that crap or whatever? He's bantha fodder. And he's like, I do. He's like, well, good. Glad you're safe.
Yeah.
That was a nice interaction.
Yeah, he's still adhering to the old ways of the Mandalorian code, and you give your word, you stick with it, and so it was good. I really enjoyed it a lot. I can't wait we've got the next series. I think we have some Bad Batch episodes coming up soon.
I think that's next, right? Bad Batch.
Obi-Wan is May 25th. Which is it's funny because I've seen all the memes. I was like, the reason they didn't do May 4th, the 4th, is because May 25th is the anniversary of Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense on that. So, and all they're alluding to is, and we're still waiting for a good trailer, and they thought it would be the Super Bowl, but I think it'll be coming out a little bit later. Is everything's being led by Ewan McGregor, and the series is going to be awesome. So I'm really excited for that. So.
And they released a brand new trailer for Lord of the Rings. Did you see that?
Yeah, it actually kind of clarify what the series is, because originally I always thought it was going to be a retelling of the Lord of the Rings story. It's actually going back. It's kind of taking the Silmarillion book and expounding it. So there's going to be a lot of stuff they're adding that wasn't published by Tolkien, and it's going to be it sounds like it's all the history in that long before the Hobbits, long before the Rings. It looks good. I'll definitely give it a try. I'm hoping that it doesn't go the way of Game of Thrones.
Now, what this also confirmed, though, is they had some actors in that trailer that were in The Hobbit and others, the older, like the old dwarfs. You see a young version of them with the same actor. So that's implying they are intending this to be the same universe as the Peter Jackson movies.
They're trying to. That's what I follow too. They're going to tie it right into the Peter Jackson movies. Yep. It doesn't. They're not saying we're going to redo the Peter Jackson movies, so we think we can do it better. Those were done very well. I don't. Other than some technology changes, I don't think they could do them better. And even then, technology changes, I don't think would enhance those movies at all.
Yeah, they're so well done. I really think a minimum of another 20 years before you could try to remake those movies and have an audience be accepting of them.
If at all, really.
If at all, yeah. So, I like the way they're going with this. They're creating the story, that the flashback we see in the movies of when Sauron took power. It seems like that's what this is going to focus on.
Yeah, it's going to show how the rings became forged. It sounds like that I would say that at least the first part of the series is forged, and we meet all these characters. We meet who Sauron was and all these things. Yeah. They will set up all those elements from all the lore that was from the original Lord of the Rings books, as well as the Silmarillion and other writings of Tolkien. And I believe his son had continued on some of the work too. So I hope he's been involved in some of the lore aspect of everything. And we'll see all these characters coming in and how, this all came to be and what happened during this time. And it's not going to be a quick, 20 minutes in a 18-hour movie. It's going to be detailing, like, here's the rise of men, the rise of dwarves, rise of elves, rise of Sauron, all that played out.
Yeah. And a number of rings were created, and we see how even those rings, people were fighting over the rings. So they could really do a very intriguing series about these rings and the power they and corruption that they caused. And how eventually Sauron got them all. Yeah. You could easily do that as a 4 or 5 season type story arc.
Oh yeah. And they're spending $500 million on this series. So there's a lot going into it. So I just, my hope is that they have a definite path they're going to follow. I just don't want them to see, like when I mentioned Game of Thrones, I don't want to see them go, well, we don't want to we'll just make some crap up and so we can have another season. It's like, if they get to the point where they've told the story and it has to end just because there's nothing really to tell between that and where the Hobbit takes off and the Lord of the Rings, then, there's no reason to. And people got to keep in mind too, don't know, the Hobbit takes place prior to Lord of the Rings. It's always been he went back to the Hobbit after Lord of the Rings to explain Bilbo's journey to get the Ring of Power.
Yeah.
So, and I'm wondering if we'll see more of how Smeagol came about.
Was Smeagol around back then?
Well, I don't know. See, they've never really specified. He was very old. I mean, he had the ring.
The ring caused him.
Yeah, the Ring of Power caused him to become the Gollum that you knew, and as well as corrupted him. And I think the Ring of Power, my understanding of all this stuff, has always kept him alive, because the ring itself is pretty much a sentient thing.
Okay, here we go. So the average Hobbit lives about 100 years, but Gollum is 589. Smeagol, 589 years old. So now let's see how long Lord of the Rings Ring of Power before Lord of the Rings. Let's see, time frame. This takes place 1,000 years.
Okay.
Which occurs thousands of years. So there's a plural. So now this one says 1,000 years. So Smeagol should not be there.
He probably will be there initially. I'm wondering if they'll eventually, as they progress through time, if they're how far through that time, thousands of years, they're going to progress. But I mean, we're seeing these. It's got to be 1,000 years, because we're seeing like the dwarves and some elves that are part of the Lord of the Rings, and for them to be only a few thousand years old themselves, the elves especially, it could be tens of thousands. So it's got to be about 1,000 years prior to a Hobbit that all this takes place, so that way they can detail all this. So
let's see, the average life of a dwarf in Lord of the Rings is Elrond. This one dwarf is 6,000 years old. So dwarves. So how? Try and find something that is a definitive thing, but thousands of years. So something 1,000 years earlier, we could definitely get multiple. And same with the elves. The elves live thousands of years.
Yeah.
So how old is let's see, Orlando Bloom. L starts with an L. Oh my God.
Oh, sorry, I froze there.
How old is the Orlando Bloom, or what's the name? Orlando Bloom's character.
Oh yeah.
Starts with an L. I can't believe I'm blanking on it.
Legolas.
Legolas, thank you. Legolas. There we go. So in Lord of the Rings, he is almost 3,000 years old. So we could get a younger Legolas.
Well, and that's what I think they were alluding to in the trailer.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
We're gonna have
Legolas in this.
We're gonna have different some of these roles.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's coming out in the fall. September 2nd is when the first episode is scheduled. I don't know if Prime is going to do a drop of every episode or do a weekly release. I'm hoping for a weekly release, to be honest with you.
I hope for a weekly release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
according to this, 8 episodes.
Right, but it's not. They're going to be full of everything. I mean, the trailer alone, watch this thing. It's like, again, going full cinematic. They're spending the money. They're not holding back. Yeah, but it does say, like here, it says thousands of years before the events, but I think they'll cover some generations of stuff. So, but yeah, like Elrond, I believe that was Elrond. Wasn't that the character played by Agent Smith?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So he's played by Robert Aramayo in this one. So we're gonna have a lot younger ones here. Galadriel, Orin. So we've got just a few that just popped up on this thing here. So we're gonna have, and then a few newer ones that we don't see in the later ones. So, but yeah, I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be, if as long as they've done well with the storytelling, it's going to be a big hit.
And if they're keeping in that universe, they already have a lot of the designs or feel of that universe already done. So they just have to build on it. They don't have to create everything from scratch. They know what worked and didn't work through fan reaction over the years. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And it should be good. I'm just looking to see if there's anything more interesting here. But okay, here we go. Yeah. Morfydd Clark, she plays Galadriel, and then Robert Aramayo plays Elrond. That was played by Kate Blanchett and Hugo Weaving in the Jackson films. So, and then Benjamin Walker is playing Gil-galad. He resembles Mark Ferguson, so who appeared as the Elven King in a non-speaking cameo in the Fellowship of the Rings prologue. So they're tying this into the Jackson stuff easily. So they're trying to keep that.
I like it.
So and Aragorn would be nowhere near this, because Aragorn, while he was like 80 or 90 when Return of the King happened, none of this will take place during any of that stuff. So we shouldn't see Bilbo at all. We definitely won't see Frodo or any of the younger characters during the Lord of the Rings stuff. But like I said, I'm wondering if eventually they'll get to a point where they do show Smeagol or how that came about as the rings corrupt as they go through that.
Well, and if they're tying it into the future series, you could always have some type of, through magic and stuff, a glimpse of the future or something, So this popped up. This is the last thing I'll mention because we're running late. This just popped up as I was searching for the Lord of the Rings stuff. I didn't realize Ray Stevenson was added to the Ahsoka cast.
Oh, okay.
Now I do know they're adding to the Kenobi series and stuff, the Sith hunters and stuff. I wonder if he would be an excellent bad guy.
Yeah.
He was a great Punisher in Punisher War Games. He's also in the Thor movies. He plays great tough guys really well. So I'm curious to see what role he's going to play in this.
The Ahsoka series is another that's going to just be phenomenal, I believe, and looking forward to that. And of course we've got a lot more Star Wars coming this year, so they're ramping up the television side. No talk anymore of anything theatrical at this point. So we'll see down the road. I think they're waiting for the theaters themselves to kind of get back to normal in terms of box offices to start launching into a Star Wars movie that's not yet made.
Well, I think the success of Spider-Man probably is helping studios say, you know what, maybe we can start doing these again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no denying they just passed Avatar as the all-time. So they're now the third all-time movie for the domestic U.S. Box office.
Yep, and that's all plays out as, and of course, we won't get into this week, but the trailer for Doctor Strange. We'll talk about that next week, I think.
Yeah, let's talk about that next week. That'll be good.
And it's got a lot of stuff in there. So
they put. I'll talk to you off screen real quick because I don't want this to extend too much longer.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, join us next week, guys. We'll see you.